Hello friends, today I have 3 very simple DIYs. Simple doesn't mean cheesy, they are beautiful. They are rustic, they are decoupage. Let's get started. I found this beautiful paper over on Decoupage Central's website, and then I had this little block of wood in my stash. Looks like I had painted it for a project and never used it. And so I'm going to sand it down because I wasn't real thrilled about that orange. But I did want a little bit of it left on there. Looks like I had painted it white, painted a coat of orange over the white. Now I'm going to sand down most of that orange. A little bit of it left on there for spring will be just fine. I'm using my handy dandy little finger sander with a 180 grit sandpaper, and it works just fantastic. And then I'm going to take a little piece of soft cloth and clean it off. I'm going to take some cake batter by DIY and just do a heavy dry brush. I'm dry brushing it on there, but I don't want to do full coverage. I'm doing light coverage, a little more than a dry brush. But I get all my DIY paints from Sammy over at Unicorn Dust Designs on her website, www.unicorndustdesigns.com. Her website is linked in every single description box in my YouTube videos, so feel free to go over there and check that out and find IOD products, DIY paints, salt wash, and all kinds of thrifted, upcycled, beautiful projects. After I do the cake batter, I'm going to sand it down just a little bit more and clean it off with that cloth. Now let's work on the decoupage paper. I'm going to take a little paintbrush and a little cap full of water. That little cap is one I recycled off of something. I thought this would be a great little cap to use out in the craft cottage. Let's don't throw that away. And looky here, we're using it. So just put a little bit of water in there, put a little water on my paintbrush. Yeah, you all know how to do this. If you don't, well, just follow along. We just wet it down, and then I'm going to use this little putty knife. It's not a putty knife. It's like a putty scraper. I don't even know what this is or where I got it, but it works great for this. I have this silicone mat on my workstation, and with this little spatula, I'm going to call it a spatula, it just works great. It's angled, and I just put it on there, and I put it a little bit away from where I want to tear because, remember, it's wet, and it's going to tear, and it just makes the edges so beautiful. I'm going to make sure that it fits on my little block good, and I like the way it fits. So now I'm going to take some Mod Podge, and I'm going to use the iron-on method. So in case you're not familiar with that, we just put a nice healthy coat of Mod Podge all over, all the way out to the edges on this block of wood, and we set it aside to dry. Now it's completely dry with the magic of editing, and we are going to take the beautiful butterfly decoupage paper and put it on there where we want it. Put a piece of parchment paper on top so that we don't burn the paper, and take some type of heat. You can use an iron with no steam, or I'm using this little heat press, mini heat press, and just press it down. Now I left this on a little bit too long, and but I love the look because it makes it look a little distressed. It didn't burn it, but you can see up there in the upper right hand corner. So the edges were a little bit over the edge, so I just took that sander and sanded them off a little bit. Now I'm going to take clear wax. Now this particular clear wax is from Dixie Belle, and I like it. I like the DIY wax. I like Varathane wax. I love all the clear waxes. So I'm just going to give it a good healthy coat and wipe off the excess, kind of buff it in, because we want to seal in that paint so that if it gets some moisture to it, it doesn't wipe back. It doesn't come off. We want it to stay on there because it looks beautiful. I'm also going to give the front of this, the paper, a nice healthy coat. You also can give it a coat of Mod Podge. You can give it a coat of polyurethane, but this is how I do mine. hope you're enjoying these simple decoupage DIYs. If you're new to my channel, my name is Kendra. I'm so glad that you clicked this video. You're watching Late Night Creations. Now let's get back to the video. Here's another piece of salvaged wood, a big old heavy chunk. This came from the dumpster dive. Yes, I'm still using wood from the dumpster dive. I will link that video in the description box below in case you're new here and you haven't seen that one yet. This is another beautiful piece of decoupage paper from Decoupage Central. I'm going to use the top piece with the cow, and I'm going to paint this piece of wood with Sandy Blonde by DIY. I'm going to paint the entire piece of wood. And then I'm going to go ahead and prepare my piece of paper while that is drying. And I'm going to do it the exact same way that I did the butterfly. I'm going to just put a little thin strip of water with my paintbrush all the way around the whatever I want, quote unquote, cut out. I'm doing air quotes with my hands, but you can't see me. Okay, and then I decide that this is probably not the best way to do that. I'm just going to tear it with my fingers. When you have two big pieces of paper, you can actually tear it with your fingers, and you can tear the edges with your fingers too. You can. I just love to use this little spatula. I'm calling it a spatula. I do not know. If y'all know what this thing is, it's some kind of scraper, some kind of, I don't know. I do not know what this thing is. I don't even know where I got it. I think it came from Dollar Tree, but it's a handy little tool. Anyway, I'm just trimming this down to fit on the front of that block of wood. And then, of course, I'm going to give it a coat of Mod Podge, let it dry, and do the iron-on method. I do not want to bore you with the redundancy of showing you the same steps over and over and over. So I put the Mod Podge on, let it dry completely, and now I'm ironing on that beautiful piece of paper onto the wood. And it just, no wrinkles, no fuss, no muss, and it looks very good. And again, I'm going to take my sander and get all those little edges off. I'm going to take a layered chocolate by DIY, and I'm going to use a chippy brush that is not really destroyed yet. I need to destroy this one to get it more chippy, get it more where I can really make a distressed look. This really wasn't working that great for me, but it's a newer chippy brush. And then I got one of my old distressed brushes out, and it worked much better, but it's not quite as big. But I was just kind of trying to give this a little bit of an aged look. Then I took Farm Fresh because that was one of the colors that kind of was in the background of that paper. See that right there over on the right? And I decided just to dry brush a little bit, dab it a little bit here and there. You can't really see it that much in the end, but I think sometimes those tiny little details that you don't really notice can kind of pull it together and pull your eye around the project without you even realizing it. And I think those little details are what makes projects really amazing in the end. So I just did this a little bit all over, and then I went back with my little finger sander again and distressed it just a wee bit. I didn't go crazy on the distressing on this one. And then I dusted it off and cleaned all the little, sandy bits off with a clean, dry cloth. I usually cut up old undershirts, my husband's old undershirts, because they're all soft by that time that they're old and worn out. And then I just cut them up and use them in the craft cottage to clean up my projects like this, and to apply waxes and clean off waxes and buff out waxes and all of those good things. They work fantastic. And so now I'm going to apply the clear wax all over this entire piece, again, to protect our paint, to seal it in. And I'm applying it with this little makeup brush. Those are in my Amazon store. You can get them numerous places. It's a makeup brush. It works great for applying waxes, for stenciling. You can use them for so many things. And now this particular part's done. And now this wire came off of some chicken wire that I picked up at an auction. And it is a little bit rusty. I'm trying not to hurt myself so I don't have to go get a tetanus shot. So anyway, it's kind of a running joke around here about hurting yourself and having to go get a tetanus shot. because I'm pretty clumsy. Anyway, so I just twisted it, and I twisted it right in the front. I didn't even care. I thought that looked cute. And then I made, off camera, I made a little twine bow, little finger bow. I have a tutorial on that. I'll try to remember to link that in the description box below, where I make a finger bow and a tassel, in case you're wondering how to make that, or you just want a different idea how to make it, because different people make them differently. Now that was just kind of a wild hair sticking up there, so I decided to mist it a little bit with some water and tame it down. Now, I didn't want that wire scratching anything or anybody. Nobody needs a tetanus shot, right? Okay, I'm done with the tetanus shot jokes. Okay, so I'm just going to glue some felt. And I just happened to have brown in my little stash, because you'll see in the next project, I had brown felt out. So I just put a couple of strips of brown felt over that wire on the back, and it's going to help that stay in place. Our third and final project is yet another piece of decoupage paper, and these are bunnies and chicks, and they are so precious, and they are in sepia, and I love them. And so I have these. I'm trying to decide which ones I want. I'm going to use those in the middle, and I have these stone tiles that came from my mom's garage shed somewhere. My parents used to have a tile and flooring company, and this was just some stuff that they had left over that they never got rid of, and I ended up with some of them and could have access to more, but I don't really know what to do with them. So I decided I would make some coasters. To me, you know, old school, coasters should absorb, and nowadays our cups don't sweat. We have insulated cups. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that this is going to work. Okay, because I did that. I'm doing the iron-on method. So you saw me put the Mod Podge on. I let it dry completely. And now I'm trying to decide which one of these looks better on which one. Basically, they're both the same. And I don't know what I was doing. You know, this is what I spend most of my life doing. Okay. My friend Leanne says, analysis paralysis. Yep, I love it. That's what I have. So I'm just going to iron it on, gently pull that off, and voila, it turns out beautiful. Now, if you wanted this to be waterproof, I would seal it with a polyacrylic, some type of polyacrylic sealer. I did not. I just used wax. But we're going to put some Tite Bond Quick and Thick on the back side, and we're going to attach some felt so it doesn't scratch up our table surface. And I put quite a bit on there because I want this to stay good. Now, it got off the side, so I just wiped it on the felt. And yeah, there we go. That's the back. The back are done. The front are done. Nope, I'm going to wax them first. Forgot. I told you about the wax. I just didn't do it. Yes, so if you want them to be waterproof, use a waterproof sealer. I did 2 coats of the wax, and they look great. We are not going to use anything that's going to sweat on here. We're just going to probably set them out for looks. I'm going to buff them down, and these cute little bunny coasters are done. How easy and simple was this little project? Thanks, friends, for watching this video all the way to the end. Be sure that you give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment below which was your favorite. Do you use the iron-on method when you decoupage? Let me know your favorite method. Or do you decoupage at all? The link to Decoupage Central will be in the description box below. But most of all, I want you to remember to be still and know that He is God.